Hi everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making Anna's Flying Fancy bracelet. The materials were listed before for you, but you can also check them out near that like and subscribe button. There's links to purchase from us at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Gather up your materials, which if you want to, watch this video ahead of time where I list out all the different materials you could use, and then join me to begin Anna's Flying Fancy bracelet. We have 2 needles, and I have 2 size 10 needles on some gray wildfire in the 0.006 size. You're going to want about 6 feet of thread, and you put a needle on each end of the thread. Because we are using 2 needles, you are going to have the chance to put on your clasp right away. I've chosen a table cup button, and the first thing I did with one of the needles was put on 3 seed beads, and then you're going to take the needles through the cup button, one going through one hole, one going through the other hole. After exiting the cup button, go ahead and put 2 11-0 seed beads, one on the left needle and one on the right needle. I didn't want to bore you with putting those on. If you are using a wire guard, you would start with this technique now. So go ahead and put your wire guard in your clasp on, and now we're starting out. I'm going to pick up my secondary. So I've used my primary color of my 11-0 seed beads, which is that Permafinish rose gold color in the Toho brand. And I'm picking up my 11-0 in that galvanized cinnamon color of the Miyuki. And I'm going to crisscross through it. One needle is going to go from left to right and the other from right to left. I want to make sure as I pull the seed bead down that I have equal amounts of thread on both sides of my clasp or my button. Because this is a 2-needle project, everything we do with the right needle, we're also going to do with the left needle. We're going to start adding these 2-hold cabochons, which are the 7mm Checkmate 2-hold cabs. If you want to, you can do the same project and the same design idea with a round trio, a disc duo, a Rosetta cab, a 6mm 2-hold cab. So there's lots of different options that you can do this netting around. With these 7mm cabs, the count is going to be 3 of our primary color of our 11-0s on both the right and the left needle. You're going to let that drop down to that bead that you're sharing, and you're going to pick up your first cabochon. The 2-hold cab has 2 holes and a flat side. We're going to go through sitting the cab flat down. We're going to go through the first hole of that cabochon with one needle going through from right to left and the other from left to right, crisscrossing through that cabochon, that first thread. Pull that down next to your button, and you have on the first portion of this netting. Coming out the 2-hold cab then, we want to add a little bit of a variance and a different color. So we're going to pick up that cranberry or that cinnamon bead again. I want you to pick up one of your gold 11s, and you can do this all in one color if you want. One of your cranberry and one of your gold. And now the needle that's on the right will go through the second hole towards the left-hand side. You can see that just kind of positions it right on the side. Needle on this side, same thing. 1, 1, 1. So gold, cranberry, gold. And then through that second hold cab, second hole going from left to right. So you can see that gets that first kind of outline and that first addition of the seed beads. Coming out the top then, we want to mimic that with an additional 3 11-0 seed beads in the golden color, and then we're going to crisscross through another one of our galvanized cinnamon. So it's not rocket science this whole first row. It's the exact same counts over and over till you get your desired length. 3 more seed beads go on the right, 3 more go on the left. Let those drop down, and then pick up your alternate color of your 11-0. Go from right to left and left to right. And then once you pull those down, again, we'll make sure that we have even amounts of thread on either side. We have our first of our beads on here with them wrapped around the actual 2-hold cabochon. And then as we go back in and get more of our seed beads along the side and come down for further rows, that's when we will have more of that rounded effect going on, and you'll lose some of that oval as we go on and position them around that 2-hold cab. So once you have your center line done, and this, as I was thinking about it, this kind of bracelet is like an all-in-one. You're gonna get netting, you're gonna get right angle weave, you're gonna get some picot trim, so you get to learn all the stitches right in one. But coming out the last of your 2-holed cabs, and I ended up using 10 of them as I was working with, or actually 11, sorry, 11 of those 2-holed cabs. Anna has 13 on her bracelet. It's gonna give you a pretty large, I'd say 12 is gonna be the average number that you're gonna use. Coming out of the last of my crisscrossed 11-Os in that cinnamon color, I've added 26 of my 11-O seed beads in that Permafinish rose gold color. And I'm going to take those after I put them in and circle back through that last 11-O in that alternate color. So I have just my loop on there. You want to make sure that your loop will fit your button and that you're not going to have it be too big or too small. We're going to reinforce this as I come back another time, so I'm just going to have that single loop for now. What we are going to do from this single loop is we're going to come back and add some right angle weave, some loops here along the ones already done, and then we're also going to start to add in our 4mm beads, which are going to kind of sit up protruding from the sides between our 2-holed cabs. So coming down the side, I poured out a bunch of that secondary 11-O color, and Anna actually used 3 colors in her original design. I'm just using 2 to keep it kind of simple, but you could change it up if you want. You can even just use 1 color too, if you really want those cabs to stick out. What you're gonna do is come down through the right-hand side, out all of the 11-O seed beads, and then out that alternate color 11-O that sits on the very, very edge of that 2-holed cab. When you're out there, I want you to add 3 more of that secondary color and sew back through that same 11-O seed bead, which is going to get you that nice little right angle weave point there on the side. From there, we're gonna sew down through, grab your example here, we're gonna sew down through, so you can see we basically created that little right angle weave. We're gonna come back and do the top along the side. You're gonna sew back through the 2 out of the 4 that we ended up putting on the side here, and we're gonna come out between 2 beads. So underneath, or beside rather, that 11-O seed bead that your thread is coming out of, you're gonna sew through 2 and then come out. Once you're through those 2, give them a little nice little tight yank, and that's gonna make sure that those seed beads stay in place. From there, I want you to add 1 11-O bead on your 1 11-O seed bead onto your needle. Then you're gonna add your 4mm fire polished rounds, and this is the etched blue rainbow. It's really, really light, beautiful blue, fancy kind of shine color. 1 more 11-O. Remember, we're all doing that same cinnamon color right now. Back down through the 4mm, which is just gonna have that 11-O kind of pop out the top and hang out there. 1 more 11-O, and then go to the next cabochon, pick up the 2 seed beads before that alternate color 11-O, and sew through that alternate color 11-O. So you're going through the 2 seed beads before, sewing through that alternate 11, and then picot trim again. So you're doing that next little right angle weave unit, 4 go together, 3 on through the one that you're already coming through, circling back through that and out. Again, sew down through the next 2 seed beads, the next 2 gold, and then when you come out the gold, 2, that's when you're gonna put on 1 of your 11s, 1 of your 4mm round, 1 of your 11-O seed beads, back down through the 4mm, not the 11-O, otherwise it'll just pop off. And then, once you know you don't have a lot of extra thread there, add another 11-O on your needle and catch on to the next 2 golds that sit before your cinnamon color on your next 2-holed cab. So we'll pull this around and you'll start to see effects. So you're gonna end up with something that kind of looks like this, where the beads are kind of flopping, they're hanging out. And the last pass that we go through after we do this on both the right and the left sides, we'll start to create those arch effects that we have to finish off that flying fancy design. So finishing up, you can see kind of that creature that it became with all of those 4mm kind of sticking around and sticking up. And we'll get those to cooperate and lay down again as we come back and add in the seed beads along the side. What I wanted to show you is how to go from this last little 4mm kind of right angle weave here, and we're going to reinforce the clasp. So you're going to go back through all of those seed beads, and I just have the left needle in my hand because that's what was there. And I'm going to go back through that 11-0 that's shared. And remember, we only went through this side of the clasp one time. So we're going to take our needle and thread, the one that's in my hand. I'm going up through those 11-0s, up through my button, down through my button. If you want to, you can go through the seed beads as well. And then when I come down the other side, I'm going to get the whole way back here to that 11-0, that first 11-0 that we crisscrossed through. And once I do that, then I want to get the other needle up to the same place. So I've got that needle and thread coming out through that 11-0. And now this needle and thread is ready to go to start on the outer edge. And this one here, we're going to take up through the 11-0 seed beads here on the outer edge. Get this tail out of the way for a second. We're going to go through those 3 beads there. Go through that 11-0 where you're sharing the thread and the color. It might be a little bit tight right now getting that last one through, but it'll fit. And once you're through there, your needles are in position to come down on the outer edge. So when you're looking at this here, those 11-0s are kind of sticking up. We're going to force those 11-0s to sit, that they're sitting perfectly right outside of that 4mm bead. We're going to come back and add on and kind of attach to that right angle unit here. And as we attach to the right angle unit, we're going to go through the bottom 3 beads as we catch on to the design. When we come out the top, we're going to add 3 beads. On to the next 3 beads, bottom 3 beads. So you're just going to zigzag along the design. To get to that first position here, what we're going to do is take the seed beads on the right hand side down through, come out through that first 11-0 in that cinnamon color. Again, it's always going to be through the 3 beads. So we're going to come out kind of that side bead. And then when we're out the side bead here, 3 beads go on. And I'm going to do these in my golden color. And then I'm going to catch on to that 11-0 that sits right above the 4mm bead. Coming out through that 4mm bead, 3 more 11s go on. And then again, we're going to sew into the bottom 3 beads on that little right angle piece. So I'm going into one on the side. Then I'm going to sew through that bottom one that we originally made the loops out of. And then we're going to go up through the one on the opposite side and out. Now I would hold this on its side and kind of work with it from top to bottom, but I was just kind of keeping it there so you could see it on camera. And you can see how it sits in there perfectly. 3 more seed beads go on. And then again, pick up that 11-0 that sits on the side and sew down. So you can see it there on that left-hand side, getting that netting in really nicely. I'm going to come back to the other side here and start to go down the design again. Always adding in 3 beads, sewing into those bottom 3 of the cinnamon color, and then adding 3 more, catching onto the top, and so forth. You're going to continue this the whole way to the bottom of the design, where we'll tie off the thread and loop through the clasp one more time. So I'm at the end of the bracelet, and you can see that lovely netting design, and it's kind of fun because of those extra little kind of beads on the side here. It's unexpected that the beads sit on that angle, so it's fun. You could also use, I'd like to say, a rondelle in here, so you could have some fun trying out a rondelle shape in there. But when you get to the end, you have your last little right angle weave unit, and what we're going to do is I'm putting my last 3 seed beads in, and I'm only going through the bead on the side and the bead at the base. I'm not coming out the side bead like we did previously. I'm going to take my needle and thread on this right hand side, go up through the seed beads on the right, through that center crisscross bead there, and then I'm going to reinforce this entire loop. If you want to, you could also do a peyote stitch along the loop too. If you wanted to do a wire guard and a wire protector, you could add that in now as well and just kind of jazz it up a little bit. So I'm just stitching the whole way around this loop. is where you're gonna have the most tension on the piece, and then back out through that same 11-0 seed bead there. All right, so that's stitched through on the left-hand side here. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing, except I'm not going to bother to reinforce because I already have 3 threads going through there. So I just have the one that I'm gonna do here. And then, so simple when you work with multiple threads, you take those thread ends, literally tie them together. Right over left, left over right, get a nice square knot in there. If you do need to add any thread while you're making this Flying Fancy bracelet, you can simply, again, tie the threads together somewhere along the project and then come out by putting just a new piece of thread right on through one of the 2-hole cabs and then start where you need to and sew back to where you need to. So I have the knot there, but I don't want to burn both of my thread ends off there. I can, especially because you won't really see them. But what I'm gonna do is take one of these threads and needles and go back through the design here a little bit. Go back through the 11-0s, separating out the ends of the thread and the ends of the needle. Here, going back through the cab, and then bringing my thread and needle out towards the back of the cab. From there, I'll get my cord cutter. I have the Wildfire cord cutter or thread burner. Burn down the end of that thread. You can see it burns off really nice and easily. And then burn that flush against the project. Same thing with this one. I'll take it down further into the project, burn it off, maybe not down as far. I can take it down kind of on the other side here. Take it down that same side. Whoops, not catching on to the seed beads at all in the clasp. So I'll pull those out here. So don't let it get caught on the seed beads. If it does, just pull it around. There we go. And then around here, I'll burn this one off right here. So that way you won't see that thread end either. And then at that point, your Flying Fancy, which Anna thought looked like a school of flying fish. And that's why she ended up calling it that design. And it's a really pretty design. You can see how it changes the look completely, whether or not you're using 3 colors, 2 colors, sticking to dark in the middle versus light in the middle. You can comment below too in the video. Let us know which one you like better. If you like the look of sticking with lighter in the middle and then going darker, or if you like the look of kind of staying with 2 colors of seed beads rather than 3. That's up to you. Have fun creating and making it your own. Again, you can take this bracelet and use the 6mm 2-hole cabs rather than the 7. On the side, when we picked up 3 seed beads, just pick up 2, especially if you're using the Toho versus the Miyuki, which you can see a little bit more squared versus the rounded Miyuki along the center. Also, you can try out some different sized beads along the side here. Some rondelles would work nicely, some crystals like Anna has here, and play up the 4mm along with those 7mm cab. Thanks so much for watching the Flying Fancy bracelet. Remember, if you'd like to, you can give a little thumbs up to this video. Check out the materials list below the video with links near that subscribe button. Thank you to Anna for allowing me to do this fun video. And also, again, if you want to, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. That way you'll get regular updates from myself as well as PotomacBeads when we do new projects, new classes, new examples, and really keep you in the know for what's going on in the beading world to make you a better beader. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy your own Flying Fancy bracelet.